Now that was an ugly loss. The Raptors faced off against the Atlanta Hawks, fresh off a back-to-back, after a big-time win against the Brooklyn Nets. The Raptors were going to come into this game tired, and I knew that going into it, so the Raptors would have to rely on their bench more. And Chris Boucher, your MVP of this game, huge game. MVP, 29 points, career high, 10 boards, was just fantastic. Was your huge lone bright spot on the offensive end tonight because VanVleet didn't have it. He was inconsistent. Yes, he put up some numbers, but way too many shot attempts that he just couldn't get any points to go down. 6 of 18. He'd have 25 points and 10 assists in this one, mostly from the line, but not a good shooting night. Lowry couldn't find the basket, just struggled all game long. Siakam was good here and there, but the Raptors just couldn't keep up with the Hawks' offensive firepower. Trae Young, who the Raptors did a great job of just containing in the first half, but in the second half, the Raptors just couldn't get to him without fouling him. And eventually, the Raptors getting frustrated because then Trae Young started getting protected by the refs, and some game ticky-tack calls, especially the one on Bembry when Bembry got the tech on top of that. That's not basketball. You can't protect a guy that's 30-40 feet from the rim like that. He barely touched him, and it doesn't look like he was pulling his arm back too, and Trae Young put his arm into Bembry, and it just didn't make any sense. He got the foul call, but after a while the Raptors just frustrated with all the calls, and it seemed to just take over their mindset, and the body language of them just wasn't good, as they looked dejected and just didn't look like they were just looking around for calls. And that's not how you should be playing basketball. You should gotta power through, just play your game and execute. But Trae Young lived at the line, and he did a great job just splitting the pick and rolls, and just great playmaking by Trae Young all game long in the second half. And Capela, John Collins, Herder, a bunch of guys just benefited from Trae Young's exceptional playmaking skills. And I got a hand to Clint Capela. Clint Capela was passing the basketball well as well. He was finding guys off the rolls, and he did a great job of that too. And the Raptors just, couldn't contain him. Aaron Baines was unplayable in this game, so you're pretty much down to just Chris Boucher. But Chris Boucher can only play so many minutes. I think he played 20 straight minutes in the second half. You couldn't get any rest for Chris Boucher because the Raptors really needed him badly, because no Baines, because you couldn't play him. And the Raptors really don't have that many big men that could rebound the basketball and that agile. Clint Capela's activity on the defensive end and on the offensive glass was a big problem for the Raptors early on and in the fourth quarter as well. But Clint Capela, Herder started hitting some big time threes. What really killed the Raptors in this game, straight up, the Raptors just couldn't play any defense. I know they're tired from last night, but just too many wide open threes. And then the Hawks were just knocking it down. I think they were 53% from three, and they were 50% or higher from the field, and they knocked down a bunch of free throws. The Raptors lost in all three major categories there. They were out rebounded. And you know what? The Raptors just, there weren't that many rebounds to grab because the Hawks were knocking down everything. So it makes sense. But the Raptors got to do a better job. They're just playing defense, finding the shooters, make them run off the line. The communication on defense was terrible. And you know what? Norman Powell was great driving the basketball tonight, but the Raptors team in general were just not in sync, especially defensively. They look tired, and hopefully they bounce back for the next one. But a tough loss, especially since you were facing a team that was of lower standard compared to the Nets. After beating a good Nets team, you lost to the Hawks. The Raptors were 8th in the Eastern Conference before the game started. And you know what? I think the Raptors are hovering around there. The Hawks are the 7th seed, so the Raptors will be facing the Hawks. And, those games are important for the standings going forward. But the Raptors just couldn't play enough defense, as they allowed more than 130 points in this game. Just not good enough on that end. But, you know what? The Raptors got to bounce back. Need a better shooting night from your main guys. And hopefully OG will return soon, because the Raptors really need his defense and his length, especially on the boards as well. a lot of things OG does the Raptors really need, and the Raptors really killing themselves right now. But a game like this, you really missed Serge Ibaka. You know what? This is one of those games where you really need a big that could be intimidating at the rim on the defensive end, and also just able to knock down a mid-range jumper like a pocket, like those pocket passes right on the pick and roll, and then he just knocks down the top of the key elbow mid-range jumper. The Raptors really need like a big man that can just knock that down with consistency. Siakam can't really knock it down with consistency, and the Raptors really don't get that many wide open looks for Siakam since he's the main focus of the defense. But Serge Ibaka usually gets that with Lowry all game long, and that was just money in the bank. It was like a signature move that the Raptors would go to, and that would just automatically be 2 points. But Raptors are really missing something like that. Definitely need to get something like that before the deadline. That could be a real good addition for the Raptors, especially somebody that rebounds as well. The Raptors really need help on the glass when they go small ball. The Raptors really need a little big. That's not Chris Boucher, who's like a little more bulky. But you know what? That's something else that the Bobby Western and Masai Ujiri's got to look into. Another big reason why the Raptors lost this game is that the Hawks did a great job of just getting back. They just forced the Raptors to play in their half-court offense, and you know what? The Raptors couldn't get on the fast break where they get usually most of their points, and the Raptors struggled to score. And the Hawks, who had Trae Young with his crafty and supreme offensive skills, was able to split the pick and rolls and just isolate with the pick and rolls. And, you know, he's hitting the deep threes as well. His handle's good. And Trae Young's just like an above average offensive player, to put it lightly. And, you know, he can create for anybody and for himself. And he did a great job of doing that. And the Hawks just had wide open looks. You can't give him an NBA team wide open looks, especially from three. The Raptors, at like 3-4 times, the Raptors just allowed wide open threes. Not even anybody running at them. They just felt tired. Just their legs weren't in it, and they just didn't make that extra effort to even contest. And that's when you know your team is tired and just can't get the job done. As the Raptors just fell apart in that fourth quarter, and it was looking pretty ugly at a point. But Bembry, he had some good moments in this game. Definitely a guy you got to see in the rotation. But Terrence Davis and Stanley Johnson, Watanabe, these guys got to find a role on this roster moving forward. Tough loss. Nick Nurse and the team's got to go back, get some rest, and move on to the next one. But let me know what you guys think of tonight's game. Like, share, and subscribe to the Raptors Wrap Up, guys. Until next time. Peace.